Hello, how are you?
I'm great. And how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Tell everyone a bit about yourself and your story.
Sure. So my full name is Magdalena, but I go by Megs. I am 24 years old. First and foremost, I'm a dog mom. I have a little Frenchton. He's one. He is my entire universe. And for a job, I am a French to English translator. So I translate immigration-related documents from French into English, a lot of court hearings and stuff like that. So it is a very rewarding job. I definitely love doing it. I've been working from home for the last year, which has a lot of ups and downs, but I mean, the biggest up being I get to spend more time with my dog. For hobbies, I love to do like social media. I have a YouTube channel. I run my Instagram. I recently got into TikTok. And yeah, that's like mostly the highlights all about me.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm obsessed with TikTok. I got obsessed with it, I think, at the very beginning of the pandemic, which I think a lot of people did too. And I did some really silly challenges, but I feel like there's some people that just do it way better and they're a lot funnier. But I
Yeah.
I absolutely love TikTok. I wish I didn't spend so many hours on it because then I'm like, oh, I should probably be doing something more productive than like spending 3 hours on TikTok.
It's just so entertaining. Like it's so hard not to just like keep scrolling and you're like, wow, so much time has just like gone by.
Exactly. Oh my God, it's so entertaining. It's like it's the best thing in the world, honestly. Just like it makes you happy. Like although social media is definitely like not the greatest for your mental health, at the same time, things like TikTok can really brighten your day. There's some really, really funny content on
Mhm.
there and it's
Absolutely.
just a lot of fun. I know it makes me happy, so I'm sure it does to others as well. So
Agreed.
it's pretty nice. All right. So tell everyone a bit about your story. I know there's a little bit more on that. I followed your YouTube channel, so I followed your whole journey. So for others that may not know the journey you went on, obviously I will link your YouTube channel down below as well for others to check out your story as well. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2019, I was finishing up my university degree. I was working, I had an internship, and then I got sick. So I found out that I had stage 4 cancer. I had lymphoma, a very rare type of lymphoma, and basically turned my world upside down. I was 22 at the time, and I did 6 rounds of chemotherapy. I had a biopsy surgery to basically test the tumor, lots of scans, spent probably the better part of 6 months, like in and out of hospitals. I couldn't work or do anything like that, but I reached a remission a couple months after treatment. And honestly, I have been in the clear ever since, which is definitely the biggest blessing.
Oh, that's great, and you recovered really quickly too. So what made you realize that something was wrong? Like what was the indicator? Because obviously, like if you get a headache or something like that, or you get the sniffles, you're like, I'm probably coming down with a cold. But then for you, what made you realize that, like, okay, this is something very, very serious, and I need to investigate?
Now looking back now, there was definitely a lot more than I like initially realized. Like a lot of things that happened around that time now make sense now that I knew it was cancer. But basically, the biggest thing was I remember it was like the end of February and it was like -50 in Winnipeg for like a few days straight. Like it was cold. And at the time, I like would park like downtown and then I would walk like 15 minutes to work and like it was really cold. So I ended up developing like this really bad cough and like it was painful to cough, but I just assumed like it's cold, whatever, like I just have a cough. It's normal. And then I remember being at the gym and I was changing and I just like was changing in front of a mirror and I noticed that my left hand was just blue. Like looked like I had a bruise from my shoulder to my wrist. Like it was ridiculous. And so I went home and asked my boyfriend, I'm like, is my arm blue or am I just like crazy and am I like over exaggerating? And he's like, no, like it looks pretty bad. Like it doesn't look normal. And so I thought like, oh, maybe it was just like I slept on it funny, or like I was leaning on my office chair or something weird, or like I tweaked it at the gym. And I didn't even associate like the cough with the like arm. Like I just thought they were two separate things, but it was bugging me because it felt like super tingly. So I went to a walk-in clinic the next day and she basically was like, okay, we're going to do an x-ray and we're going to do blood work, and it's probably like a lung infection and maybe your lungs are swollen and it's cutting off circulation to your hand or your arm. And I was like, okay, makes sense. So the results came back that there was something going on in my lungs. They were inflamed. So she just was like, okay, we're going to put you on some antibiotics. And then, yeah, so then I went for a follow-up x-ray. Everything went away. Like my arm was normal. My cough went away. I thought it was absolutely nothing, but the x-ray showed that there was actually a massive tumor on my lung. And then further scans and a biopsy showed that it was stage 4 cancer.
Wow. So it just started with the cough, which can happen
Literally
to anyone. You
the
can get a
randomest
cough.
thing. Like, yeah, like I didn't think anything of it. Like that cancer was like not even in the ballpark. I was like, oh, it's probably a lung infection, but nope.
Wow. Wow. So then with um I'm trying to like articulate my thoughts here. I'm like getting stuck on what I'm going to say. So, um when they did it, so they did, you said they did an x-ray initially, right? Which is why they put you on the antibiotics. So they didn't see a tumor during that initial x-ray versus like the second one, I guess, because like there was some swelling or stuff like that, or like how, explain a little bit more about that. Like why wasn't that noticed the first time around?
Yeah, so I guess an x-ray doesn't show like that much into detail. So it just showed that my lungs were like inflamed, like it just looked like they were bigger than normal. So then basically when I had the follow-up x-ray and I went to the doctor and I was like, I feel completely fine, like the cough's gone, the arm's not swollen, but I guess the x-ray still showed that they were either like inflamed or they were like bigger than they should be. So then she contacted a hospital, which made me get a CT scan, which is like a very detailed x-ray that shows a lot more detail. And then that basically showed that there was a mass or like something that wasn't supposed to be there, which is why I got referred to a surgeon.
Okay, so did they, I know sometimes they kind of give an estimate on how long this has been developing for. Did they tell you like how long this could have been developing for, or was it just literally from 0 to 100 just quickly developed into this?
They really have no idea how to tell. Like with cancer, it's such a like crazy thing, and like every like situation is different for everyone. Basically it was an aggressive tumor because I had one CT scan done like when they were first looking into it, and then one done a few weeks later, and the tumor had grown significantly in those 3 weeks. So they're assuming like maybe it was, or maybe it was just like stage 1 or 2 for a while, and then there's something that would have triggered it and it would have made it grow. So like there's really no way of knowing, which I honestly also wonder. I'm like, was this something that just developed, or was this something that I was like living with for a while, but I actually just had no idea? And then, yeah, something just triggered it and like made it grow to the point where like I got worse symptoms almost.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. So you could have had it like the whole time when you were growing up and you would have not know, because
Yeah.
I know some people live with cancer for like most of their lives and they don't know until like many, many, many years later. So it's actually crazy that there's no way of knowing how long you could have had this for, or if it was just really quickly. But yeah, that's very interesting. So tell us a little bit more about this type of cancer. I know you said it's a little bit more on the rare side. So what does it affect, and like what is it, and what did stage 4 versus other stages mean for you in regards to symptoms?
Yeah, so lymphoma is actually a blood cancer, so it has to do with your lymphatic system, your lymph nodes, and your blood cells and stuff like that. And so basically, I only had one tumor, and it was on my chest. It was growing really fast, and so when I looked into like my specific type of cancer, it's really weird because all the studies that have been done show that it's mostly in women between the ages of like 20 and 40. Like it's young women that are affected, and they have absolutely no idea why. And it's like a lot more in North America versus other places in the world, which is also really weird. And so I think it's like 2% of people who have lymphoma have this specific type of lymphoma, which also kind of made treatment a little tricky because they weren't exactly sure what the course of treatment would be. And then basically how the staging works is stage 0. Don't quote me on this, but this, from what I understand, stage 0 is like there's no tumors, there's just like signs, like markers. Stage 1 means there's a small cancer tumor, but that it's not really going anywhere. Stage 2 means it's like a little bit bigger, but that it has a possibility of spreading to like the organs beside it. Stage 3 means that it's again a little bit bigger and it's starting to make its way to other organs. And then stage 4 means that it's aggressive and it's been spreading to other organs. So basically for me, mine was aggressive, and then scans showed that there was already tumor cells popping up in my neck, meaning that had I waited, I probably would have also developed more tumors in my neck. And then for some people, they can have like hundreds of tumors in their bodies. So it's like crazy how like it can really range.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's something I never knew. I'm not you typically hear about, breast cancer and colon cancer and all these types of cancers that pop up, and this is not one that you hear of really often, which is why I wanted to ask, and why I'm glad that you told us about it, just because a lot of people might not know about this type of cancer, because it's not one that you hear. It's not a common name, and it's out there. So I think it's really good for people to know and have an understanding of it, and also realize that like you can be young and healthy, and you just never know. Nothing is
Exactly.
promised for you, right? Like you were young, healthy, and this is something that you didn't expect. It all started with a cough.
Exactly. Yeah. Like never take your health for granted. Health is definitely wealth.
No, exactly. So, what was when you were sitting there and they told you your diagnosis, what was your just initial automatic thought?
Definitely shocked. Like when I first heard that it's like when they first told me, the surgeon told me he thinks it's cancer. Definitely shocked. Like it was not something I was expecting to hear. I literally went into that appointment being like, oh, lung infection, whatever, not a big deal. So shocked. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like I was like, I didn't even know. Like I honestly felt like my life was over. I had so much like lined up. Like I had a job, I was finishing university, I just moved in with my boyfriend. Everything was like going up, and then suddenly it just like crashed. And yeah, I was definitely very, very shocked, very sad. I probably cried for like a week straight. I thought this was the end. Like it was really hard. And especially when you hear stage 4, like a lot of people associate that with death. And like at the time, I didn't know a lot about cancer. And like all you see is like in movies, and in movies, cancer is always portrayed like as such a sad and devastating thing. And so that was like my initial like reaction to it. Like, this is devastating. And like basically I was like, I don't know like what this means, which was really scary. But then it definitely kind of took me some time to absorb it, to cry it out, to like be angry about it. And then I ended up kind of just turning that into like a more positive thing.
Yeah, and that's what I took from it too, because you're here saying that, obviously in movies and stuff like that, cancer is portrayed as such a devastating and horrible thing, which I mean, in a sense it is, right? Like you're sick. It's not a good thing, but at the same time, you managed to turn it into a whole different thing. Like watching your videos, and for those of you who haven't checked it out, make sure you check it out. You're just watching them. I was sitting here and I'm like, how is she okay? Like it's just like, how is she okay? How is she smiling? How is she like, she's just champing it out throughout this whole thing with like, it doesn't even seem like not like you didn't seem upset, nothing. And of course you had your bad days, it happens, right? But it's like you managed to turn it into a whole different thing. It's a very different take on it. You didn't spend your entire time in videos being like, this is horrible, I had a hard day, blah blah blah. No, you literally talked about like, today I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna go to chemo for a few hours, I'm gonna go watch movies while I get chemo done for a couple hours. Like everything was like a positive spin. Like even spending hours in the hospital getting chemo, you were actually like fine the whole time, and like watching stuff and like making jokes, and like it's it was a whole different take. And that's why when I watched it, I was like, this is incredible, because like how often do you see that? Like you don't, that's not something I've come across. Like cancer runs in my family. There's a long line, long history of cancer in my family, and I don't think I've seen a single person that has gone through that in my family, at least, that took it the way you did, that turned it into such a positive thing instead of such a negative thing. You focused on just like the positive aspect of it, which was amazing. So, how, tell everyone, for whether you're physically sick, mentally sick, anything, having a hard day, anything, like I think it's good for people to learn how you can remain so positive through such hard times. So, how did you remain so positive? Because obviously your initial outlook was like, so you were associating it with death and you were like, this is bad, right? So how did you flip a switch and then you were like, I am going to crush it, I'm going to come out on top, and I'm just going to do me? Like how did that change for you? How soon did that change for you, and what did that look like?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I did was just let myself feel the feelings first. Like I cried it out. I was angry, I was upset, I was a mess for like a solid probably like week or two. Like I hated life at that point. And I was like, what's this? Like I'm 22, my life is over, like this is the end for me. And then I kind of just, yeah, like I think once I had like a plan in place, like when I knew it was cancer, when I knew what type of cancer it was, when I knew what the treatment plan was, I felt more like reassured. And I definitely was supported. I have an amazing boyfriend who's very supportive. He's very positive and he radiated that positivity onto me. And then I kind of just like developed the mentality of like, what's the next step? Like, I'm young, I can beat this. I have a healthy body. You know what? Like, my body's going to tolerate the treatment well. That's not something I have to worry about. And so, what's the next step? What can I do? And then I think a really big thing that helped me with my positivity was, what can I do to make my situation better? Like, how can I take what I can control and make the most out of it, which was being healthier, which was trying to keep moving, trying to keep myself busy, trying to keep myself out of being in my head, because I knew that I would get in my own head about it. And that's like half the battle with cancer, is what goes on inside your mind, the thoughts that you have, the feelings that you're feeling. And so I knew that if I didn't want to be kind of stuck in my own mind, I had to find things that were going to help me feel like occupied, help me feel busy, help me feel motivated. And so I started looking into like a healthy lifestyle, like doing YouTube videos, meeting other people that were survivors that were like ahead of me technically, and that were doing well. And that really helped me bring my spirits up and just like, yeah, like what's next? So what can I do that will help me feel better in the future? Like just basically giving myself things to look forward to.
Yeah, and I think that's great. That's a good way to get out of it, because the more you focus on the negative, it actually does damage to your immune system, because you're putting stress on yourself, and a lot of negativity can actually result in lowering your defenses when it comes to your immune system. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think
Absolutely.
the fact that you remain so positive, your immune system was fighting super, super hard for you too, because you weren't putting more stress on it than it was already under. It was already under a lot of stress, and you were kind of taking some of the stress away from it. And
Yeah.
speaking of your boyfriend, I saw the video of what he did for you, and I'm going to tell everyone what he did. And that the second I saw that, I was like, this guy is the most genuine guy, ride or die human being. Like, I literally sat here and clapped. I
Oh,
was like, this is a stand-up guy. For sure. Like, so her boyfriend surprised her, and not only that, he filmed himself because he knows that she was making YouTube videos, so he wanted it to be part of the journey. He took a camera with him, he shaved his entire head to support you because he knew you had to do that, didn't tell you about it, went and did it, and then surprised you with it, and also had a whole video for your YouTube channel to add to your journey. And I thought that was the nicest thing. And it's not even just the words, I support you and I care about you, it's the action. That was a really, really big action on his part that just fully said that he cares about you, that he supports you, and that he's there. That gesture alone spoke a lot of words, and it actually spoke, like, it showed a lot about him as a person. So I found that absolutely incredible. Like, I'm sure you did too.
Oh, I like was not expecting it. Just for like a side note, my boyfriend is obsessed with his hair. He like maintains it. He loves his hair and it's like a big part of him. So the fact that yeah, it was just something that was super important to him, and then he went and he just shaved his head off or his hair off completely was just amazing. I like lost it when I saw him. I lost it. I started crying, and like to this day it's definitely something that just is just such a like soft spot for me, because it was definitely probably one of the kindest things he's ever done for me, and just like shows how genuine of a human he really is.
Exactly. It's that support that you have too, because obviously he knew you had to go through it, and obviously it's hard for guys to do it as well. But I feel like girls, especially growing up with a lot of hair, growing up
Mhm.
with long hair, knowing that you have to get rid of it, it is a really big thing. Like it's not just as simple as like, oh, it's just hair. It is just hair, but at the same time it's something that you're used to, something that you've had for so long. So mentally it does give you some feelings, of course, like
Mhm.
very very valid. Gives you some feelings. So obviously that's not something you were super super excited for, and he kind of in a sense made it easier for you, kind of just like, I'm there with you, it's going to be fine, we're just
Yeah.
going to do this together, and then it's all going to be good. And then in a sense it makes you not feel as bad about it, and you're just kind of like, okay, let's do this, like more of excitement. In a sense it turned it into more of a positive thing.
Yeah, and it's like people aren't just looking at me, they're looking at both of us, both being bald together type of thing.
Exactly, exactly. Well, I know you also talked about wigs, because you did get some wigs.
Mhm.
So how did that process go? Like, what made you decide that, okay, I'm gonna wear a wig, and just how did that process kind of go about?
Yeah, I really just wanted, I don't know, it was hard because it's like, you're losing your hair and you want to feel normal. You want to feel like a girl, like you want to feel pretty. And so I was like, well, if I'm bald, I'm not going to feel that way. And like, obviously, you don't know what it's like until that moment, but like just thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to be bald, you just get so scared. And let me tell you, the world of wigs is so overwhelming. I like, I'm happy that I went where I went because it was a wig center who that usually deals with people who do lose their hair due to like hair loss or cancer treatment. So they were really helpful and they did really help to explain kind of how to take care of it, how to take care of your head, all that kind of stuff. But it was a hard transition. It's also like kind of getting used to wearing a wig is hard. It's like wearing a wool hat almost that's like tight around your head. But I really just wanted to find something that was pretty similar to what my hair was like before, just so it was kind of like a security blanket for me. And then I ended up after that just like getting a bunch of other funky wigs. And I was like pretty confident in my bald head. Sometimes I'd go bald, sometimes I'd wear a funky wig. Like it was just very, after a while, it just kind of turned into more fun for me. And then I learned how to style wigs. I learned how to like cut hair on wigs. And it just ended up becoming like a hobby. Like I just loved it at that point. But at first it was definitely hard just because even though the wig was similar to what I looked like before, you can always tell, right? Like other people might not be able to tell as much, but you yourself looking in the mirror, like you notice the slightest difference about yourself. So for me, it was hard at first being like, yeah, this looks totally natural. Like to me, it didn't look natural at all, even though looking in pictures now it does. But I was like, I know it's not my hair. And it did not feel natural, but it was a process. And eventually I kind of got over that hump.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's hard to do. And at the same time, like that's totally valid to feel that, being like, okay, I'm gonna lose my hair. I'm not gonna feel like me because I don't look like me.
Mhm.
And just wanting to, as a woman, and if you are more of a feminine woman, you wanna keep looking feminine. So obviously that's a big shock to you. That's a big thing, which is why, although it is just hair, at the same time, it's not just hair,
Exactly.
because if you've always had it and that's just always been a part of you, it's a really hard transition to just lose it all and then having to start over.
Yeah,
um
your appearance does change a lot when you lose your hair. So that's like something you have to get used to, right?
exactly that. And what about, so with the chemo, what kinds of side effects did you experience with that?
The worst was the hair loss for sure. Intense nausea. I'd have like such bad nausea for a few days after each treatment, and it was like a lot to do with smells. So we could have like zero smells in our house for like the longest time because anything like we'd cook like chicken or something, and just the smell of it would make me like want to throw up, and then I wouldn't be able to like look at chicken for like the longest time. Like it was a lot of stuff like that. I did get pretty bad headaches, which was also really hard. Like just feeling like I always had to be sleeping because yeah, like I couldn't look at the light, I couldn't look at anything, and just like overall feeling weak. I think that was something that really made me feel upset because when you feel it physically, that's kind of when you feel sicker versus on the days where like I didn't feel as sick and I was able to just put on hair, put on makeup, put on a wig and just go out and like do life as normal, then it didn't feel so bad on those days. But yeah, I think those were the worst. I also got mouth sores pretty badly, which was terrible because there's nothing you can do for them and it was really painful to eat. But yeah, those are I think the worst out of them. And then there was like a few other minor ones, but I did end up developing hacks for them after a couple treatments, which really was helpful in the end.
That's good. Hacks are incredible. And I know
Yeah.
obviously these symptoms, they range. They're different for everyone. Everyone is
Mhm.
completely different. So chemo is definitely going to target people in different ways. So I know with chemo and stuff like that, after a while you get scans to kind of check if it's doing anything or kind of what's going on with you. So did you experience any anxiety right before those scans? And if so, kind of describe how you would try to calm yourself down and try to remain positive, just thinking in your head that the scans would be okay, and just kind of talking about the anxiousness of not knowing for several weeks or however long how your body's reacting, and then you have to wait until that scan to see what's actually going on with you.
Yeah, so I had a scan right before I started treatment so they could kind of like have a baseline with what they were working with. And then another scan wasn't done until 4 months into treatment. And that for me was scary because it was like, okay, like I'm 4 months deep here. So if it hasn't been working this entire time, like have I just been wasting my like time with this treatment that may not be working? And so it was definitely really scary because I had heard like so many stories of people being like either completely like halfway through their treatment their cancer was completely gone, or halfway through their treatment and nothing had changed. And so like I really didn't know where I would fall in that spectrum, so that really made me really anxious. And I think for me, like what calms me down the most is just self-care, like just taking care of myself, not trying to like distract myself, face mask, bubble bath, like doing things that made me happy, binge watching a show because I'm not thinking about other stuff when I'm focused on a show. And just knowing that I'm in good hands, like whether it's working, whether it's not, like I'm in Canada, which is a country that has a great medical system with where like cancer is very highly researched. There's always options. Like, I'm never out of options here. So I think that's what really kept me going, knowing that, yeah, like if this didn't work, like they'll find something that will. But it was definitely a really stressful period of time, like getting the scan done, waiting for the results, and just kind of trying to be like, yeah, like has this been worth it, or are we starting at square one again?
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably terrifying. 4 months. I didn't even know it was that long. That's a really long time for you just to not know what's going on. And that can definitely trigger a lot of anxiety, and even right up until that scan, right before it, being like, am I gonna get good news or bad news? And then your head's going in a billion different directions. So how was I mean, you clearly have a very good support system. So how did your boyfriend and your close friends and your family take it, and how were they during this whole situation for you?
Yeah, everyone was very supportive. I mean, like, yeah, like had to learn how to ask for help because I'm not someone who naturally asks for help. I'm someone who's like, if I can do it myself, I'm gonna do it myself. And so I did have to learn how to ask for help. And my boyfriend was just pretty much like my caretaker this entire time, and he was amazing. And just with me like being off work and just obviously not being able to live the same way that we used to live, it was an adjustment for us, but we made it work. We did as best as we could. I had a really great group of friends who are also very understanding and very supportive. And I think the most important part was that those friends never looked at me like I was sick. And that's definitely a huge thing for some people, especially for me. Like, I really tried to make an effort not to act like I was sick. Like when I felt good, I was myself. I was bubbly, I was happy, I was energetic. And like they never treated me like I was like the sick friend. They always like they would ask how I was doing, how I was feeling, but they never looked at me with pity. They never looked at me like they felt bad for me. And that was a huge thing for me because it helped me almost feel more normal. And so, yeah, that was definitely very important to me.
That's awesome. Well, that's good to hear that you had such a good support system. That obviously helps with your mood and everything. It probably made things a little bit easier for you, knowing that you had people that want to take care of you and care about you, and are here with you every step of the way. And shout out to your boyfriend for being your caretaker again. Stand up guy, like I learned from watching that video for sure. I'm not even surprised that he was your primary caretaker at all. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
shocked after watching that video, not shocked by it. So I'm glad you have him. I think that's great. So what made you want to start a YouTube channel? Like, what did you think about it for a while? Were you randomly just like, what? Like, I want to like help others and showcase like my journey, or like what was your initial thought that made you want to start a YouTube channel about your journey?
When I first got sick, I was like, I'm gonna fly under the radar. Like, I'm just gonna like hide in my house, and then I'm gonna resurface when this is all said and done. I'm not even gonna say anything to anybody. But then I kind of like I thought about it, but I don't know. I was like, I don't really know if I should do it. Is it a good idea? And then my boyfriend and I were just driving one day, and he was like, why don't you just like put it on YouTube? Like, you're gonna finish your degree. You're not gonna be able to work. So you're gonna have all this free time. You're gonna be at home. Like, why don't you use that time to learn some new skills, pick up a new hobby, kind of like do something with this? Like, because I was complaining about how like I would go on Instagram, I'd go on YouTube, and I'd look up stuff to do with my cancer, with my chemo, and like all you would ever see is like either doctors talking about it or like pediatric types of cancers. Like there was nothing that I felt like I could relate to being 22 years old and being diagnosed with such a like severe cancer. And like definitely makes it harder when you feel like you can't relate, or the only news you can find is like scary like medical terminology that you don't understand yourself. So I was complaining about that because like I'm someone that likes to do research. I'm someone that likes to kind of know what I'm getting myself into. And then yeah, from then on we kind of just talked, and he was like, just do it, like just try it out for fun. Like, why don't you? And yeah, then I was like, okay, and here we are.
That's incredible. And I'm glad you did, because it showcases the reality of a young person, and also not even that, it shows a different take on it, because your take is a really, really positive one. It's something a little bit different. So you're showcasing it in a way that's like gives people hope. So it's like, yeah, I'm young and I'm sick. I have a really rare cancer. It's aggressive, but look at all the things that I'm doing and I'm accomplishing. And then also, I know you're still doing YouTube, so you have things, kind of afterwards as well. So it's like you're kind of showing things in a different light that I think is really, really good for people. And I know that you explained a couple things, a couple of medical terms that people have no idea what it is, and in really simple terms for people to understand. So I think it was, really great that you did that. I actually, I was actually very impressed with your videos. So I told my family, I was like, you need to watch your videos. And like my family watched your videos because I mean, we do have a long history of cancer in my family for sure. So I thought it's just such a nice take on it that I thought like it would be nice for my family to see, because I'm like, this is, really great. And I went to school with her, and I don't know, it's just really worth watching. So actually, yeah, my family watched it, and they the whole time, same as me, they were like, "How is she doing good? Like she's like so positive and so happy." And they're like, that they were saying that shows strength, and it does. It really, to be able to do that, it's not an easy thing to do. It's not simple to just be like, okay, I'm sick. Everything's good. We're going to do this and that and tackle this and a new hobby and whatever. That's not an easy thing to do. That takes energy. That takes motivation. That takes a lot. It's actually very hard to be positive sometimes. I know, especially now in a pandemic, people are struggling to do that as well. So it's like, that's a really hard thing to do, to kind of, when everything's going wrong, to switch your mind into being like, okay, let's do all this and actually look forward to something. So I think, it does show strength, especially like mental strength, because that's something that's not easy to do. You have to constantly teach yourself and keep doing it, and then you end up believing it too. And I think that's the point where you got to, like, what you were saying wasn't an act. Like, you could see that you believed these things. Like, you were, you fully believed that you could do this, and that you were going to come out on top. And you could tell in those videos that like you truly believed that this was going to go away and that you weren't going to conquer it. And I mean, and you did.
Yeah, definitely like I had my bad days. I'm not like I never tried to sugarcoat it. I would have days where I would just be super sad the whole day, like on days where I'd physically feel more sick, or like just, had a headache all day and it couldn't like bug in, make it go away. But yeah, I think like you said, like once you kind of just start putting yourself in that positive bubble, like you start living it, and it becomes your like your reality. And I would see things like the positive side of things more, and I'd always like, negativity kind of just, I pushed it away, and I did like put in boundaries and stuff like that. And anything that was negative that I didn't really need, I would push it away, because like, why would I just let that come in? Like, I'm going to focus on keeping myself mentally strong, keeping myself physically strong, and use that to propel me forward, because like having something so serious as cancer, like you definitely realize all the things you took for granted before you got sick. You realize a lot of lessons in life. You realize like blessings that you have, like, and there's definitely people that have way worse than me. And I knew that. And so it just, yeah, I think I found a lot of reasons to be thankful and to be happy despite the fact that I was fighting cancer. And that's definitely what kind of kept me going.
That's a really good take on it, and a good take on a lot of things. And that's a good way to view the pandemic as well. And I was going to ask, how are you doing with that? Because you went from spending, a decent chunk of time battling cancer. You didn't have, you know, a lot of time to go and like celebrate necessarily before this happened, like before the pandemic. So how has that transition been for you, since obviously like you didn't have a lot of time to celebrate and get back to normal and get used to not being in the hospital all the time, and then to now being like, okay, you got to stay in your house and you can't leave. So how are you coping with that, and what was your overall take and thought on this situation?
Yeah, like everyone, I mean, I definitely wish I could go out. Like I love seeing people, I love spending time, I love adventures, new things. So definitely it sucks when like you just want to get out of the house and do something, but you can't, especially being that Winnipeg's been in a lockdown for like 3 months now. But honestly, I'm also someone who's like used to it. Like, I don't know, I spent like all of 2019 like being at home. So for me, it's not like, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's like necessarily a negative thing for me. I also like have a lot of hobbies. I like spending time by myself. So for me, it's been definitely, I don't know, like I like it. Like I don't really mind it. Again, like everyone, I wish I could go out sometimes, or like I wish I could just like go to the mall and walk around the mall. But I think I just have so many like hobbies and activities that I like to do. And I took this time to like train my dog better, to cook, to learn how to bake, for me and my boyfriend to like spend some time together, do some puzzles. Like we found things to keep us occupied, learning more about YouTube, learning more about like social media, and just like taking that time to read, learn more. Like I think it's also given me a lot of time to do stuff that I like wouldn't have the time to do necessarily like living my regular busy life. So I definitely try to see it in that way, as like, okay, like with this extra time, like this is time for me to relax more, this is time for me to learn more. And just also trying to see it as like a positive thing, despite the whole world kind of crashing down around us outside of my little bubble of my house.
Kind of, I guess, yeah, that's a good take on it. Like, I mean, yeah, you were stuck in your house for so long, but you're like, I've already done this. Like, this is like piece of
This
cake.
is fun, yeah.
Okay, because you already did this and not like that long ago either. So, and I mean, I guess too. Also looking at it, I feel like in a sense you feel very powerful and strong. And why wouldn't you? Because you're like, I beat stage 4 cancer. Like, I mean, I can do anything at this point. Like, I feel like it kind of gives you more positivity in a sense, being like, okay, we're in a pandemic. This is horrible, but like I survived stage 4 cancer. So like we can get through this hurdle once again. It's a hurdle that we're just gonna get over, and we'll come out on top on the other side of it. So I feel like it kind of gives you that thought as well, probably.
Yeah, and like this is life. Like next year it'll be something else, the year after that it'll be something else. Like you can't predict the future, you never know what's going to happen. So I'm just kind of take it as it comes. Like, you know what, there's always gonna be some sort of a pothole in life that you're gonna have to overcome in one shape or another. And so that's just, I don't know, it's just kind of how you have to take it, and just kind of keep trugging along as you go.
Exactly. There's always something. It's true. Like even if it's not a bad year, you might have a bad day, a bad week, a bad couple months, and
Exactly.
like it's life. So things happen. Life is not easy, and you're not going to be happy and experience wonderful things every single day. That's really not how life works. Life is meant to challenge you.
Mhm.
So there are definitely a lot of challenges as well as happiness in life, and you just have to you know you learn to adjust, you learn to adapt, and I think that's what we're doing right now. We're adapting, we're being challenged, we're learning new things, and I think we're not going to take a lot of stuff for granted. Like you said, after what happened with you, you don't take your health for granted or anything like that. And I think after this, we're not going to take our health for granted either. And not to mention that we're not going to take our loved ones for granted as well, and social
Yeah.
connection, because human beings are social beings. We are meant to socialize. The fact that we're being deprived of it for as long as we have, and still, is we're really, I think, gonna treasure it once it ends. Like I know they had what was it, the booming 20s or something that it was called after the last pandemic
Yeah, I think the
many
Roaring
years
20s.
ago. Yeah, roaring 20s. There you go. There you go. Everyone went out and was partying, and like everyone was, close with everyone. Like there was no negativity in the air. Everybody just like loved each other and cared about each other and wanted to
Yeah.
be around everyone and have a good time. And that's what I think is coming, because of being deprived for so long, that we're all just going to be like, let's like see everyone again, let's just care about everyone and love each other. And I think it's going to be a really positive thing that we really need, because obviously, like, before this anyway, you're not like, oh, I love everyone, I want to get to know everyone. Sometimes some people are not as social, right? And I feel like this is kind of gonna change things. I know that I used to be really social. That kind of died down when I went to university. I think my schedule got a little hectic, and I found, in a sense, this sounds bad, I found that hanging out with people was a chore, because I was so busy. I really didn't have time for it. And I was hanging out with people, I was like, I got to do a billion things. Like I like, my head wasn't in it. So,
Yeah.
and then I started kind of getting back into it a little bit and having a little bit of my social butterfly back. And then this happened. And then it's like, well, you can't see anyone. And then I feel myself, I felt myself anyway, for the longest time being okay with it. I was like, I don't need to see anyone, I'm fine. Still in that mindset, like, yeah, it's okay. But then actually the last couple weeks, I've noticed that I'm like, I want to see my friends. Like, I want to like be around people. Like, I want to be social. And like, that's something I haven't felt or said in a little while. So I feel like the pandemic changes things for people in a sense. And I think that's really great. Like, I can't wait. I hope we have a situation like they had after the last pandemic where everyone's partying and having a good time. That's what I want. Now I'm in that feeling where I'm like, let's go.
Absolutely. Like I'm the same way as you. Like I was so used to being by myself at home, but I'm like, you know what? Like I'm good. But now I'm just like, yeah, like I just want to go for a walk with a friend. I want to go for coffee with someone. Like I just want to like talk to someone and just like, yeah, like something that's not like work related or like something that's not like, you know. So it's definitely, I feel like it's going to be nice. Like I feel like the world is forever changed, but I think a lot of people are going to value social interaction a lot more now that obviously they've been deprived of it for a
Exactly.
year.
Like, I wish it wasn't so hard. Like, I've had like people that like I've actually reconnected with, that I was friends with back when I was younger, and we just drifted apart because that's how life goes. Drifted apart. That they were like, oh, you want to grab coffee when the pandemic's over? It's like, yeah. That was several months ago. Those messages, right? Like, I mean, you can't. So it's kind of like, I mean, stay tuned. Like, it's not as simple as like,
Date,
yes,
right?
let's go. You can't just like be like, yes, let's go for coffee, let's go to Starbucks today. Like, we can't. So we
Yeah.
can't even do that. So I think that's something we're all gonna kind of learn. I feel like a lot of people are gonna end up reaching out to past people they used to hang out with. I know that's been my case. I've had people reach out that I haven't talked to, and I don't even know how long, that I'm like, whoa, like, you still remember who I am and my name?
Exactly.
Okay. And it's just to, like, and it's nice to kind of be open minded and be like, sure, coffee, whenever the world decides to cooperate.
Oh, yeah, I feel the same way. I've reconnected with a few people too, and it's like nice because it's like, oh, like what have you been up to? Like, how has your life changed? And like all this stuff, and it's yeah, like it definitely makes you like kind of change your perspective on so many things in life, like the value of friendship, the value of how lucky we're to just be able to see people every day, and then or even to be able to like go somewhere, do something like you didn't think twice about stopping at a store before, or like you didn't think twice about like going out for dinner, versus now it's like this whole process that you have to think about and like stuff like that. So definitely I think changed a lot of perspectives on a lot of different things.
Exactly. And the value of hugs. I
Yeah.
knew I like to hug people, but now I'm like really wanting to hug people. Like, it's just, I crave hugs from like everyone that I care about, like my friends. I'm like, when is the last time I hugged my friends? Why didn't I hug them harder before like the world shut down? It's kind of thinking about that. It's like, I don't remember the last time I hugged my friends, and like there's not many people right now that I can give a hug to, and it's like I'm just like craving that. So like when this is over, it's like I'm literally gonna be like 1,000 hugs from everyone. that's how I'm looking at it. So, I mean, and this whole thing is really, really wild. But you're obviously, you know, with your perspective and what I think you've gained something. Like even with your experience, you've gained a lot, like a new perspective. You've
Oh,
gained
absolutely. And
a
like just like
love
lots of
for everything.
lessons. Yeah,
Yeah,
like lots of lessons, like anything that's not serving you, anything that's not like making you happy, it's like why are you spending your time on it? Like even people, like I definitely had a lot of like I don't want to say fake friends, but like people that I was friends with, but like they truly showed their true colors, right? Like they were there when I first got sick to post Instagram picture, to make Instagram story and being like, oh, like supporting you, love you. But then like the whole time I was sick, like never reached out, didn't even bother. Like even now, like nothing. And you know, it kind of shows you who your real friends are. And like I don't know, it taught me like, yeah, like if people are bringing negativity or constant drama into my life, like what's the point? Or like even just like do what makes you happy, because life is so short, life is so precious. Like if you're not happy in the job you're in, like find something else. If you have a dream, like go work towards it, achieve it. Like don't stop yourself because you think you can't, but because you can. Like anything is possible. You have to work and go for it, because life is short. So what's the point of living a mediocre life? Like I don't see the point of it anymore. Like I definitely value a lot more now, and I definitely see things differently. And even health, like yeah, you can like splurge and spoil yourself and stuff with like treats and unhealthy things. But at the end of the day, like health is wealth and you only have one body. And trust me, no amount of money in the world can make my cancer go away faster, or could have helped me, you know, get better a different way. Like I had to do what I had to do. And so really it goes to show that like sometimes putting your health before other things, whether that be your mental health or your physical health before something that is not necessarily good for you, like that's the right decision to make, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time.
exactly. And I know now you're still really into health
Mhm.
and exercising and all that. You know, you're really, really into that stuff now too, which I think is great. You gained an appreciation for, you know, your body and being healthy, and you're obviously very thankful that you're healthy, that you got through this, that you came out on top. So you want to keep treating your body. Um, because you know, realistic, we only have one body. So
Yeah.
you just want to treat your body with the utmost like love and respect. And while, you know, treats taste good, of course they do, in moderation. You have to, in a sense, eat some things that are good for you, because yeah, we only have one body and we need to take care of it. And whether it's cancer or, you know, if you're sick during the, you know, this whole pandemic or anything like that, just in general, or even if you develop stuff down the line when you're older, we have one body. So if we treat it right, as young as possible, um, you know, good things can come of it for sure. And you know, we're doing our kind of due diligence, I always get stuck on that word, to yourself, and being like, you're not just telling yourself you care about yourself, you're showing yourself that you care about yourself as
And it
well.
only benefits you in the end, right? Like it's only going to bring something good out of it. And like even just like having a new appreciation for my body, just being like the things that my body went through a year later, and like it's still, I'm still here, it's still fighting for me. And like even like when I was sick, I could barely walk up a flight of stairs without getting like super lightheaded, and like my heart was racing and I had to like take a breather, versus now like being able to run is like a blessing, or like being able to just do a full workout and like get my strength back and just feel good overall. Like you just realized how truly blessed you are to be able to do those like little minor things that like for me 2 years ago or a year and a half ago were like hard. Like I remember going back to the gym for the first time, it was discouraging because like I'd go on the treadmill for like 5 minutes and feel like I couldn't breathe anymore, versus now I can go for longer. And I'm like, it's amazing how much our bodies can really do for us. So I think again teaches me that like my body does so much for it. I want to take as good care of it as I can.
Exactly. That's great. So how long have you been in remission now?
It's about just over a year and a half. In July, it'll be 2 years, hopefully.
You went
But
through
yeah,
remission pretty quickly, right? Like after a couple months of
yeah. So it was about 6-ish months, I think. Like I finished chemo and then I didn't need further treatment after that, which was really nice.
And how often now do you have to get checkups and scans? I know, I think it's like within the first 5 years, they're like really, really careful, especially in those first 5 years or something like that. So how often do you have to go for all that?
So when I would finish treatment, I had a scan every 3 months. But then as of a few months ago, my doctor was like, okay, like you've been stable, everything looks good. So we're just gonna do blood work from now on, just so you don't get exposed to the extra radiation from the scans. And then if there's something like funny that comes up, or if your blood work's not good, or if you don't feel good, like then you can have a scan done at any point. So I've just been having blood work and it's been really stable since. So yeah, for aggressive lymphomas, 2 years means that there's a really small chance of it coming back. So if you make it to the 2 year mark, that's usually like people relapse before 2 years. And then usually they watch you till 5 years, because if it doesn't come back in 5 years, then there's a pretty high chance it won't come back. So yeah, for the next 5 years, I'll probably be seeing my doctor every few months for blood work and just checkups and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So do you get, when you get the blood work now, do you go into it kind of like, oh, it's just another day, or like does a part of you still get a little bit anxious over what the outcome will be?
It definitely at first was anxious. Even at first, when I'd get like a little cough or I'd feel like a pain in my chest, I would be like, oh my God, it's back. Or, oh my God, should I call my doctor, freaking out? As time went on, that definitely went away. Now, like, I barely think about it unless something like serious comes up. But otherwise, like, if I feel fine, I'm like, I think I'm fine. Like, this is just like an extra step of reassurance for me to just make sure my blood works good. But yeah, usually I'm just like, I'm fine. I just like, it's more of just like going to the hospital and like being in that environment again, that kind of gets me all like, ugh, like reminds me of like that time. But yeah, it's been good so far. So I try to just stay as positive as I can and just be like, this is just making sure that you're still okay. Like, this is not an indication that something might be wrong.
Exactly. It's a positive thing because then it gives you the reassurance that you're fine. And
Mhm.
even so, because you're getting checked so often, even if something does come up, it's getting addressed so early, like right away. It's getting addressed right away because
Exactly.
not a lot of time is going by that you're in good hands regardless of
Absolutely.
the outcome.
Definitely reassuring, knowing that, like, yeah, if anything would ever come up, I would get treatment right away for it. So it's also definitely very helpful. And again, like a blessing that I live in a country where that is definitely a possibility for me. So again, just another blessing to look at.
Yeah, exactly. We've got, we're not out thousands of dollars because of our healthcare system being so great. I know, in the States, going through cancer treatments would have costed somebody their whole lives,
Absolutely. Yeah.
everything they've worked for, and more. So we're blessed to be in a place that we can just go get that done and not have negative amount of money in our account, giving us more stress than we are already going through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's really great. And especially not a pandemic as well, it's really good to have the healthcare system that we have. Just because, yeah, we're not going into debt because of it. Our health is important. Why are we going into debt and causing us more of a mental headache and making us sicker?
Hmm.
Then we need to focus on our health and take care of it. Because imagine if we didn't have the healthcare system that we have now, would we even bother getting checked? Because it costs so
Exactly.
much money. Would we
Yeah.
take care of ourselves? I think the reason people go, I know they say with hospitals, there's people that go all the time because they always think that their arm is broken or something like that, and it's not. And although, yes, we don't want to overwhelm the hospitals, you shouldn't be going to the hospital for every little thing. At the same time, we have the luxury that we can do that and that people care enough about themselves and their bodies for them to be like, I'm going to get checked out because I think something's wrong. Like, it's really great that we're making ourselves a priority
Hmm.
in that sense. I do wish, and this is my note because I'm a big mental health girl, I wish people would be the same for mental health. I hope eventually it gets there and people are like, something is wrong. Emotionally, I'm not doing well. I want to go get help. Some are funded by the government. So, I mean, there's that stereotype that therapy is ridiculously expensive. A lot of private clinics, yes, 100% super expensive, really, really hard to afford, especially as a young person, not making a huge wage. But there are a lot of like non for profit, they're funded by the government, and there are ways that you can get the right treatment and tools to help you that a lot of people are unaware of. So I wish that that was more of a thing. But I mean, I'm sure eventually that'll happen. I know the stigma around mental health has definitely decreased a little bit as time has gone on. I don't really hear anyone call anyone crazy for it. I know it used to be the go-to word. A few years ago, someone showed any sort of, symptom of mental health, and people are like, you're crazy or you're psychotic and all those terms. So I'm glad we don't have to hear those anymore. So I think we're getting there in that sense. So I would like to see how we can treat both things, since they're both important. And I think you did that really well. You not only took care of your physical health because you went to all your appointments and you still go to all your checkups, you've also gotten into this mindset full of positivity. So you're balancing it both very well. You're prioritizing both your physical health and your mental health, which I think is very, very important. And I think it's helped you so much, I'm sure, to do both.
Oh, it definitely has. And like my mental health was definitely very impacted by being so sick. And like, again, the thoughts in your head are like the darkest thoughts, but trying to really like stay on top of it, not let myself go there, distract myself. And I think, yeah, there's definitely lots of resources out there. I know even cancer care here, like they have different therapists, different types of therapies, different types of like support groups that you can have, whether you're like a child, whether you're a caregiver, whether you're a young adult, older, like whatever it is, there's definitely a lot. There's definitely like support out there. There's a lot of support groups, even online. Like I'm in a few Facebook groups, I'm in a few Instagram groups where it's just like people who are either in the same situation or people who are spreading awareness and stuff. And that definitely helps you as well, because being able to relate to somebody like another, like, 22-year-old or 23, 24-year-old going through the same type of cancer, or even just going through cancer period, and they just get it, they get what it's like to be like that. And so that's definitely lots very helpful. And then anyone that does reach out to me asking for like resources and help, I'm like, definitely interact with people who get you, because your family wants to be there, your friends want to be there, but they truly never understand what's going on. And it's just like so freeing to talk to somebody who gets it, because they can reassure you and help you and make you feel like everything will be okay, and kind of give you an idea of what you're in for. But then they'll also understand what you're thinking, what you're going through, the different emotions and the roller coasters that you're going through. So I definitely think that for mental health, with regards to really anything, but just voicing that you need help and voicing that you want that support is definitely very important.
Exactly. And I get the vibe from you too. Like, I know a lot of people that have a social media platform don't always use it for good, or they don't bother answering messages. I kind of get the vibe and the feeling that you do, especially if someone were to reach out to you and be like, I need help with this, or like they came to you with a concern. Like, I get the feeling that you would answer them, not just based on how I remember you to be, but just like how you've been through your whole journey, and seeing that and talking to you now, I feel like you're not going to be the type to shy people away. You're going to be open to questions, and supporting people and helping people. And I feel like that is a huge part of your platform.
Yeah, I definitely try my best to help people out as best as I can. And if I'm not able to, I don't know the answers, I try to like guide them in the direction, or like maybe like just give them ideas of who to reach out to, because like I have been in this like world of like cancer stuff for like 2 years almost, and I have met a lot of people through it, a lot of people with different cancers with different stories. And so I definitely do try to use that to my advantage to help others, because like that is really why I still continue social media, to help others, to help them see that there is a life after cancer. There's a life after a traumatic event. Like, just because you've gone through something really hard does not mean that your life is over. Like, you can still be successful, be happy, and just like go back to like being a like normal person afterwards. Like, it's not the end for you. And so I definitely try my best to help as many people as I can, and or yeah, like I said, steer them in at least the direction of trying to help them out. So yeah, it's definitely a blessing to be able to do that. Like, I love meeting new people. I always think that there's a benefit in meeting as many people as you can, because you never know what they'll teach you or what they'll like open your eyes to.
That's great. So what is your end goal? Like, I know, so obviously you're a translator. Now, is that your end goal, or is there something else you see yourself doing in the future?
I definitely love the whole social media thing. Like I love making videos. I love because through it I'm also learning. Like I'm also learning more about healthy lifestyle and that's the stuff that I love to share now, like positivity, self-care, healthy lifestyle. I'm someone who loves to keep learning and I feel like as I keep learning, I love sharing the things that I learn and things that have helped me because I know that it'll probably help somebody else or even if it won't, like it'll give them ideas or even just something to kind of like try out. And so I definitely love doing that. I really do want to write a book about my story at some point. I'm working towards starting a blog right now to kind of like work with my YouTube and my Instagram. But yeah, like for now, it's just like stuff that I do on the side. I mean, I would love for it to get bigger than this. And that's kind of something that I'm working towards on the side. But I kind of like for now, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to go with the path of life and see what happens. And then kind of, I feel like my life has been so unexpected that it's like I plan, but not too much. I'm kind of just like go with the flow, fly by the seat of my pants, and we'll see what happens and like what's meant to be will be. But definitely feel blessed to be in the position that I am right now. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see where life takes me.
Exactly. Expect the unexpected, right? You got to kind of embrace everything with open arms and all your energy. And then that's how you can get through anything, anything at all. Like just as hard as it can be sometimes to be positive, it's if you can find even one positive thing about what you're going through, that's really going to change your thoughts. Like even one small thing, it starts with one small thing. You
Yeah.
point out these simplest things. I literally yesterday waking up, it's Monday. I'm not a morning person. I wake up and I'm grouchy. And then I look at my cup of coffee and I'm like, but I get to get up and have a cup of coffee. Like something as simple as like I get to have a cup of coffee, which I love. It makes me feel better and makes me happy. Is like just that little bit of positivity just changed my whole outlook on the day. I went from like, ugh, it's Monday, today sucks, to it being like, I'm gonna have my coffee. I'm gonna have a good day. So a simple, even a silly thought like that, a simple positive thought can totally change your day. Your
Yeah, for
outlook
me,
on.
that's sunshine. Like I feel like I need sunshine. Like I'm a sunflower. I need sunshine to like be happy and bloom. And so I always have all the windows in our house, like all the blinds are open all day long because I love as much natural light as possible. And then obviously in the winter it's sometimes gloomy, but then when the sun comes out and I just like I'll sometimes sit in my living room, like on my couch with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, just like in the sunlight. Like you know how dogs love to like lay in the sun and like roast? Like
Yeah.
I'll just do that with my dog. And I'm like sunshine on my face, like I feel so good. Or I'll just like go stand outside and just like stand in the direction of the sun and I'm like the sun is shining, like this is such a like mood booster for me. And like it's just I think it's about finding the little things because if you keep waiting for big things, like you're not going to be as happy because like bigger things are harder to come by. But if it's like yeah, like a cup of coffee every morning or the sunshine or even just like a nice day where you can go for a walk or like something small like that, like definitely helps you live a more happier life because you see those things more often. And if you have a positive association with them, you're happier more.
No, I completely agree, and that's why I'm very into mindfulness. I'm sure you come across it in your research and learning positive and stuff like that. That's why mindfulness is such a big thing that I've actually become obsessed with myself, and I think mindfulness has helped in all sorts of instances. I know it's changed my life tremendously. And I know it's, doing those things has definitely changed yours. So, I definitely encourage everyone to pick one positive thing in your day every single day. If you have more, great. But just one positive thing when you get up out loud, say, not even in your head, out loud. I don't care if it seems like you're talking to yourself. Say one thing, one positive thing about that day
Yeah.
that's going to help the rest of your day. And if you don't think you can come up with one, try harder because there is one small, simple thing. Like I said, mine was a cup of coffee. It can literally be anything. You can maybe be like, wow, my room is clean. Literally anything. And I promise you, it's going to change your outlook on the rest of the day. It's going to reduce your chances of your day being bad.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that.
So on that note, I think we'll end it on a positive note. Uh, thank you for coming on here. I am, so glad that you conquered this. You're doing well now. That you got through it. And I'm glad that you started that channel because I think it has helped a lot of people. I know with myself anyway, though I haven't gone through that experience, it helped me mentally because of seeing that positivity, seeing how you kind of embraced everything. I think mentally that did a lot of things for me. So even if you haven't gone through cancer, I think in any event it's a lesson, it's a life lesson. I'm really glad you started your YouTube channel. I'm glad you're still doing it. So I say keep on it. I'm gonna put a link to it in the YouTube channel because I'll make this into a video, and then the actual podcast link as well. I'm gonna have that link in there into your social media. It was nice talking to you again because fun fact, we didn't really say this before, but I've known you for a long time. I've known you since grade 10.
Yeah, we went to
So I've known you since grade 10, so I've known you for a long time now. So we were never best friends, but we did talk here and there for sure. I would say we definitely had some good chats here and there when we were younger. So it's really, really nice to see that you're doing well and that, although while going through some negative times, it turned it into a whole positive situation for you.
Oh, thank you. And I'm really happy to hear that like it positively impacted you as well, because although like the majority of the people that do watch my YouTube videos are either people who have gone through it themselves, are going through cancer, or like their caregivers and stuff, like it really does make me happy to know that people who don't go through that also find some sort of takeaways and positives from my channel. And I really thank you for supporting my channel, for watching my videos, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a guest on your podcast. I had a great time and it was really nice to chat with you. So thank you.
Of course. Well, yeah, once again, thank you so much. This was awesome. And I hope that we can talk soon when the pandemic's over. Actually, grab a cup of coffee would be great.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. It was really nice.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your night.
You as well.
Bye.